So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. It's Saturday, so we get to talk about my favorite show on television, The Traitors on Peacock. And we have our favorite co-host to talk about The Traitors once again, Carsten Bergersen. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. Let's go.
Yes.
I'm excited.
I also want to remind you guys, Bergie was just filming some cameos. So if you want a cameo for Valentine's Day from Bergie, he's on Cameo, but also the Cruise of Deception sets sail in April. I put the link if you guys want to find more about the Cruise of Deception, where you kind of get to play a kind of game like the Traitors, and there's like a $50,000 prize pot. It sounds like a blast on the high seas. But Bergie, let's get to this episode. What is your overall thoughts? Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
There are parts that I love. There are parts that I hate. But overall, I loved it. It's like better than last week, but probably better than the past 2 weeks of episodes. I'd probably put this one at an 8. There was like, Danielle is still getting under my skin of like how she's playing this game. Like I know when she's lying, and it's just like boiling me under my skin a little bit. But other than that, like I'm not really hating too much. Like this episode like had a very fun challenge. It was so fun to watch. And
Best challenge of the
year. And I love how they're showing how much Alan is enjoying being a host. He's laughing with the contestants. He's having like the blast. And I think Alan is us at home. He's just watching the contestants go through it. And it's so fun to see. I think it was a great roundtable. Obviously not up to like the episode 4 roundtable. I don't think we're ever going to reach that again throughout the season, but that's okay. That's fine. Because it's so fun to watch how this is going to unravel by the end of the season.
I think what we also have to accept is that this is a comedy as well. Like it's gameplay, but when you throw reality stars and gameplay or reality stars in there, it becomes a comedy. And I don't mind that. But I see a lot of people online just talking about discourse about like the gameplay, and Boston Rob ruined it by them putting him on. Like this is all part of it. Like this is what happens when you have big personalities. And yes, it's a little weird that they put in 3 game players, Derek, Rob, and Wes.
Yeah.
Wes and like the Cage Boys. It's so, obviously that's such a weird crinkle to the game, but the game changes season to season. If you watch all the different iterations, this is par for course. So I find it interesting to read some of the people complaining and bitching and moaning about it when I'm like, it's great. Like I love them changing different things. And even when there's a mistake, I love how somebody like Boston Rob, which we talked about last week, had an uphill battle from the moment he was in there. The moment he got in that game, it was an uphill battle for him. And just like we talked about last week, every eye had to have been on Rob. Like finally, Tom Sandoval gets a win, but it's not that hard of a win to get because it's so obvious. But I'm still pissed, Dan. I just personally, and once again, I do not know Danielle personally. I'm sure she's a lovely person. I want her out of the game, and I'm frustrated she didn't go first. Those are my thoughts.
No, and I completely agree with you. Like even if we had the season 2 cast go back into the castle, and maybe there were some different traders, it's going to be a completely different season. Like every little move is going to make it a completely different season. Someone else is going to be more paranoid. Like I would love to see Phaedra get to play as a faithful, but I also really want to see her play as a traitor again. Like I'm excited to see. I know they got to do an All-Stars at some point. I'd love to see.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah,
they will do a Traitors All-Stars at some point. You're totally right.
Well, and I think it would be cool to see like a world or like US and UK somehow like kind of combined. Like if I got to go back, I think my best buddy would probably be Aaron from Love Island. Like we both have like that Love Island background. I think people would love to see that. People would love to see like Pilot Pete and Dylan play together. So I think there's a lot of dynamics that they could definitely play around with.
You guys, if you don't know what he's referring to, is Aaron, who was on Love Island USA this past season, who, had a wild season on Love Island. He was in the UK version of the Traitors and he won. That's how he got over to Love Island. So that would be really fascinating. And also playing, like you said, on people's perceptions. If you put like Dylan and you or Dylan and Pilot Pete, 2 people that are so faithful, what happens if we make one of them a traitor? How do they move within people's expectations of them? And that's what I also keep thinking watching this is now we have like decades of watching certain players like Boston Rob on television. How do they continue with this? Like their game has to get harder and harder each new show they go on to because they get good at it, but there's so much suspicion going in on any player that does multiple reality competition series.
And I listened to a Wes and Bananas podcast recently.
How was that? What did you find out?
Well, my favorite thing that they touched on, when you go back and you get to go play some games and you're like the biggest threat in the room, it's not about winning anymore. It's about having as much fun as you can on the game with the game, because the audience is going to have fun with you while you're playing the game. It's not about winning. It's just about having fun playing the game as hard as you can and just enjoying the ride and having a blast.
And I believe he also said it's about making good television.
Yeah,
like you are there to make good television. And I think like my hat's off to Wes in that, because he had the big FU moment when he got banished last week, and that was very entertaining. And so these people that have been on there, they know kind of, they're thinking about it in terms of gameplay, but there's also in terms of entertainment. And that's why some of the cast members that are there right now, I think they're kind of stuck in a way, in some ways. Like Trishelle is proven to be so ineffective, and her natural instincts of wanting to be kind of Miss Goody Two-Shoes and like kind of throwing away votes, or, you know, this person's my friend. I don't think there's a lot of room for that at this moment on the Traitors when you're this far in and you become really ineffective.
Yeah, it's too late to be throwing away votes like that. And
but it's not entertaining either. Like it's
not
fun.
entertaining either. That is true too. And I think Shereé did that a little bit last year on my season. Like,
Shereé didn't wait, Bergie, you worked with Shereé. Did Shereé even know she was on the Traitors? Like at what episode did she realize she was on the Traitors? She seemed like she didn't know where she was.
She knew she was on the Traitors, but she didn't understand how the game was supposed to be played, because she was mad that we were voting out faithfuls, but she was also not voting out traitors either. She was just burning votes. And it's like, well, if you didn't burn your vote, maybe there was a chance you could have banished somebody else.
Well, I mean, exactly. You've got these different types of like players in the Traitors, and I don't mean like where they come from in terms of reality shows, but you've got the people that speak their mind, that tell you what they think and who they suspect. You have the people that don't put the pedal to the metal and kind of hang back. You have the people that just kind of disappear to everybody, even in the castle, like Ivar and Sam Ashgari, who now they formed a weird invisible, like a friendship that's based on their invisibility. Like nobody like Ivar, Gabby didn't even realize he was still in the room with her at one moment in this episode, right?
For breakfast. Yeah, that was so funny. That had me dying. I was just like, oh my gosh. Well, at least they know she's not a traitor, maybe. I don't know.
But see, that's why I say overall, you know, this is also a comedy. Like this, you know, I think the Traitors UK, there's like, you know, sometimes it's a little more dramatic even. That's why I would recommend it streaming it on Peacock. But this sometimes you're like, just like gameplay aside, it's just funny. Like you're just like you said, Alan is kind of the audience and he's laughing as hard as we're laughing at home. But to me, that still works. And I just am now curious because, you know, spoiler alert, by the way, we do spoilers on this show. Boston Rob finally gets out at the final round table. He had a valiant effort against Brittany at that round table, but he went home. Who are we killing? Because now we're doing the murder face to face. They have to walk down the aisle. We saw that at the very end of the episode. And then allegedly what they make it seem like is they turn around and they see Carolyn and Danielle, the two traitors, and one gets murdered. Who do you think they're going to murder and why?
That's a great question. And it's also like, who can they agree on? Because I know they were...
Well, now it might be smooth sailing because Rob's gone. And Danielle wants us to believe that Rob is the reason why they were not effective as a team.
I don't agree with that, but
me either.
Like looking at the night before, like Danielle didn't want anybody murdered. So I just really don't know. I think if I had to put a guess on it, maybe Dylan, but this is the hard part. Cause I think it could be Dylan, but at the same time, Carolyn and Danielle are aligned with Dylan. So it'd be hard for them to kill him, but it'd make a good point of like, he shouted out Brittany. So maybe Brittany murdered Dylan or Gabby murdered Dylan. Like, I don't know if they could really push that, but there's a chance there.
Yeah, like I think you got some legs with pushing things on Brittany, obviously. So I think you want to keep Brittany because you can put suspicion. I think you want to keep Lord Ivar or Sam, one of those, because you can say they're playing such an invisible game that you can put it on them potentially because, you know, you could say their aloofness is actually them playing a real game. Carolyn, by the way, makes this point during the game is that she is like, I am a game player, but I don't look or sound like one. And still to this moment, she is really skating by. She had that argument with Danielle at the last round table, so I thought that was going to pick up steam, but it didn't. And she is still kind of out there being able to really go, I think, unnoticed and I don't know if it's a flawless game, but it's a very close game to how she plays, and it's working, as opposed to Danielle, who is still doing either the real tears or the fake tears, but it's just way too much.
Now that we're actually even talking about this, I remember now Carolyn we're starting to see her develop a relationship with some people in the castle.
Gabby,
as well.
She loves Gabby
especially. So I think Carolyn is going to, if Carolyn's probably plan right now is to take Gabby to the end. Like, she needs to make sure Gabby stays in this game as long as possible. So I don't think they would murder Dylan. I think it's going to be between Sandoval. He also had the greatest expression when he turned around.
He's a silent film actor. Yeah. Say that again. He had the reaction.
Yeah, when he turned around, he just had like the biggest reaction.
No way, dude.
Yeah. I think, or it's him or Trishelle. I think those are probably like the two probably most likely murdered next. But like the way he turned around, I'm guessing this is how it worked. Like, you had the one person stand there and they turn around to see if the traitors are coming or not. Like, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So whoever the traitors are going to kill, they're going to turn around and then they'll see the traitors walking towards them. So I think it's between Sandoval or Trishelle
to get murdered. Well, so what he points out too is a very tricky editing thing that they did at the very end for the preview for next week, or I don't know if that was the anyways, they all turn around and they showed everybody turn. You saw Dylan Efron make a slight like kind of facial move, but I couldn't really determine what that was. But once they get to Tom was firmly in place instead of turning around, if that makes sense. So you saw all of the people turning, except Tom was already not turning. He was face, and he had this look of surprise like he saw something. But I want to throw this out there that they throw us these little mystery puzzle pieces and then they're trying to trick us, the audience, into having this conversation that we think it's Sandoval. What if those people that Tom sees are not Carolyn and Danielle? What if there is somebody else in front of Tom at that moment that surprises him? And my question to you, Bergie, is there anything in the rules that says, can they recruit instead of kill at this juncture?
I have no idea. And I also want to ask you too, how are you enjoying like these different murders, if that makes sense? Like, instead of like murder in plain sight, murder with the coffin, like, are you enjoying these instead of like just the regular write it on a note? Like, that's my question to you too right now.
Yes, I enjoy the theatrics of it. I enjoy the set, like I enjoy the candles and the music, and it's like so over the top and everybody's wearing the costumes. So visually it's a feast. And I can understand that it kind of, it gives a little spice to the game already. It's not necessary, but I love it. But I also think I just really, judging by the trailers in the past, they go out of their way sometimes to trick us, the audience, into thinking that we know what's going to happen. So I just don't know if they would give us that Sandoval moment, which we see with our own eyes being shocked, which would mean that he obviously is seeing Carolyn and Danielle. So I don't think they would give us that. So what is Sandoval seeing? I don't trust that he is seeing them.
Or maybe he's just shocked that they're not there.
Or maybe they're recruiting him. Or maybe maybe he's not there. Maybe they're not there.
Maybe they're not there.
Dude,
so like,
nobody's here, dude.
I thought for sure I was dead. I totally took out Boston Rob today.
Yeah, by the way, and Bergie, you don't watch Vanderpump Rules, but I will say this. This is the first win Tom Sandoval has had in 2 years. This is literally, he needed this win so badly for his heart and his soul, and he finally got one. And like after last week when I said, I'm starting to feel bad for Sandoval, and I'm not the biggest fan of Sandoval anymore, but I was starting to feel bad. And then this week, it is that literal, like, he's going to be so cocky that it's going to be so entertaining to watch, because now he thinks, he thinks he's brilliant, but now he thinks everybody else knows he's brilliant now as well. And I think that kind of ego is what's fueled Sandoval through Vanderpump Rules, and we're going to see a lot more of that this next week's episode, unless they kill him. Unless they kill him.
And I think too, it's like he really wasn't the spear of taking Boston Rob out. That was Wes and Derek the week before.
Yeah, it's exactly.
they were the one that killed him. They were the one that killed him. Boston.
I mean, I don't want to take it away from him, but Rob was literally the most obvious choice. That he is a traitor. It's just that game probably is so intense when you're in the moment and you're just so paranoid and thinking of every different angle that you sometimes, the Occam's razor is that you sometimes just don't think that the obvious can be true. And Tom is like, no, dude, it's totally true, dude. And he was actually right. But yeah, it was kind of but I want to give him his flowers. I don't want to take away credit. But a lot of people had thought that throughout the game. Finally, we are seeing Brittany, aka Ashley, who I used to call Ashley because I forgot her name, from Big Brother. We're finally getting her to talk more, or her more in the edit. And I think she's really going to be a crucial player, even they're going to go after, or she's going to figure out more. What do you think?
I totally agree with you. And I came up with like this epiphany that would be the best way for the season to end. And it would be Danielle and Brittany going to the end, and then Brittany just backstabbing Danielle at the very end, and just like continue have history repeat itself where Danielle just got backstabbed by Brittany at the very end of the game.
Because, by the way, as they said in the first episode, if you're a Big Brother viewer, you know this, but I am not, so I had to find out, is that Brittany really messed with Danielle in their season of Big Brother, and there is bad blood there. So to see them dancing around as teammates is, I don't know if that's good or bad. And I also think secretly that Brittany has to be suspicious of Danielle. Has to be. Because
we haven't had one like shooting head of Brittany talking about Danielle yet. I've been waiting for it, and I'm like, we haven't seen it yet. We saw it with Derek Derek didn't suspect it, but we had it with Jeremy suspecting that Danielle was a traitor. But we haven't had that with Brittany yet, saying like, we don't know what Brittany's thinking, who the traitors are, besides she didn't think Boston Rob was a traitor last week until this week.
Well, you speak in terms of the talking heads, or you said the shooting heads, is that, we only see certain amounts of the edit, obviously. They have a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor. Do they ask you every day who you think the traitor is in the talking head, and then they can use it or not?
Yeah, and like all your theories. Like I would lay everything out every day. And there was times where I was completely off, and there was times where I was completely on. And thankfully, I got a good edit where they only showed me being right most of the time. They never showed me being wrong. They could have easily made it where I had like the absolute worst theories in there, because there was one where I thought Janelle was a traitor. I thought, but there's so many shooting head moments where they can make you look bad or make you look good depending on what footage they use.
I mean, how aware are you of the producers? Like, are you watching their facial reactions as well? Because does it become a game where you include behind the scenes productions if their face makes a move and you're reading their moves? Like, oh my God, they just smiled when I said that. I think I'm right. Like, did it get to that point for you at all?
So when you go in to shoot your shooting head, there's a speaker there and then a camera.
Oh, you don't see them.
Producer. The only producers you see is when you're getting mic'd up, and I don't think they know who the traitors are, the people that are helping you get mic'd up, and then Alan. Like that's pretty much it through the day. And then you obviously have people like walking you around, but you can't really talk to them. So it's just like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's good, and I'm very comforted in that. So they can't give anything away. I also want to point out that Summer House on Bravo premieres this week for a new season, and I've seen the first episode, and I think the first 7 minutes are online, but I think that includes this, so I can talk about it, is Sierra's driving over, I think, to the Summer House with Paige, and she says kind of, I just got back from Traitors, and it was like the most intense experience of my life. So this summer should be like a breeze compared to the Traitors. But I like that they acknowledge that she was on, and that she went through this insane experience. She doesn't give anything away, but she did also mention that she only got one call a week in terms of like the outside thing. And she didn't really have access to like the phone like she would normally. So, she was coming in very cold to this season of Summer House.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really enjoyed getting away from my phone and not having like 1,000 emails to look at every day or whatnot, or like having all this it's so nice to just detox and just be able to talk to people like 100 years ago. I feel like it's a lot less stressful for whatever reason. It's so calming.
Dude, that's what I was thinking about today. I was like, oh, take me back to like 1994 when there were no cell phones. You could just drop me off at a mall. I could spend my life, like there's something so like, everything's just so pressure filled nowadays with technology. And I know it helps us a great deal, but sometimes, man, it is so hard to decompress. And we do it through shows like The Traitors. But man, like I was wondering, like Love Island USA, when you came off, like I imagine anybody on any reality show, you're all of a sudden getting like 1,000 DMs. How does your head wrap around that? Because like I've given up on DMs. Like I'll see some here and there, and I'm not anywhere near a celebrity or anything like that, but I just can't keep up with it, and it worries me every day. What was that like for you going on the Traitors and Love Island and dealing with thousands of people DMing you?
Yeah, well, I'm someone that was rarely on social media before I went on Love Island. So it was like a huge shock. And I think I had 20,000 overall notifications when I got off of Love Island. And I was trying to read through all of them because, like, it started off really good on that first episode of Love Island. And then people got sick of me. So then it was a really good chunk. And then I got into like 1,000 love, like DMs.
Love you.
And then it became,
I hate you.
And it became the 500. I hate you. You need to get off the show. And they were just calling me names and whatnot. And then it got good again and they got bad again. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to see everything. It's just what it is, what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, listen, I want to just go on the Traitors so I can just put my phone away for a little bit. So hopefully we will all get that opportunity at some point. So we think it's either potentially Trishelle or Tom getting murdered, and then the game will continue and they'll have to get somebody out at the round table. I think they're going to either go for Brittany and throw weight behind that because they've already set up that storyline that she has suspicion on her, or we're finally going to get the Danielle showdown and people are going to, and not Carolyn, but she'll go along with it. But I think you'll have everybody going, you're a fake crier. You cried at this, you cried at that. If Boston Rob took out Bob the drag queen, you cried at that. You're a traitor as well. You voted against Rob, because there is a moment in the round table, I don't know if you caught this, is that Danielle, when she makes her vote for Rob at the very end, she goes, I voted for you, Rob. I know that Brittany is a faithful. And to go back to what Wes said in one of the earlier episodes, how do you know if someone is a traitor? If you're a traitor themselves, how do you know if somebody's a faithful? If you're a traitor.
Mm-hmm. That is a tricky situation, but I think that might get scathed by, because I even said, I know Trishelle is a faithful, or I know CT is a faithful. I said that on my season all the time because I was defending CT a lot, or I was defending Trishelle here and there. So the person I did not say it for was Peter after the recruitment, because I was never sure. And I think I might have told you this like a year ago when you interviewed me, or I said it on some, but Kevin came and talked to me too. He's like, what do we do if we're at the final fire pit and Peter's there? I was like, well, we won't worry about that until we're in that position. Hopefully we're dead by then.
So explain to people that are like new to the Traitors, what is that final fire pit? Because last year it was Trishelle, CT, and Mercedes Javid at that final fire pit. So what happens?
Well, at that final fire pit, it's, if there's one traitor left, they take all the money. So you want to be absolutely sure that that person is 100% not a traitor standing with you at the final fire pit. So you can have no reasonable doubt that that's person standing in front of you is a faithful. Like, if you have any reasonable doubt, you need to banish them. You have no choice. And I would also make the argument too, if you have 3 people there, you have a 67% chance of losing at that point, because if one of them's a traitor, you're done. So if you have like the best social game and you think you can keep knocking people out, I would knock as many people out as you can. Because if you get to, there's 2 of you left, you now have a 50-50 shot at winning.
Well, say some miracle happens and Danielle and Carolyn are both at that final fire pit. Can they betray each other at that final fire pit?
That's what happened in season 1. Okay. Yeah, so it definitely can happen, because that's what happened with Ari and Shereé.
Okay, so that can happen, you guys. And by the way, if I was Carolyn, and like Carolyn says, I'm taking it day by day with Danielle at this point, if they make it to the final fire pit, there's no way in hell I would trust Danielle to share that money with me. No way.
No way. And then also, too, this has never happened on UK or US where more than one traitor has made it to the final fire pit. But on Traitors Australia, they made it where they had to split or steal. And have you seen that?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening, can you explain this better? Because I can really screw this up where it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's just that they can either they can either steal the money entirely, or they can choose to split it. That's right? This is the basic thing of...
But yes, I guess that's the basic thing.
Yeah.
So if I chose to split it and you chose to steal it, you get all the money. And then if we both chose to steal it, none of us get any money.
Yeah.
I think that's
by the way,
way to explain it.
The Australia version only lasted 2 seasons, and the second season actually has somebody from Below Deck in it, from the U.S. version of Below Deck. So it's good, but it's a little wacky, and they didn't continue it after the second season, unfortunately. It also had a different host than the U.K. and Alan, so it was its own thing, but it's unfortunately over, but you can find it on Peacock. Okay, so let's get into this episode. It's episode 307, third season, 7th episode, Till Death Do Us Part, and there's 10 episodes, correct?
I think there might be 11. And there might be, and then a reunion episode.
Yes, the reunion. And Andy Cohen hosted the reunion last time. How was that reunion experience for you?
Honestly, I was super sick when I went to it last year. I could barely breathe. So I was just wanting to get out of there. So I didn't have the best experience, not because it's I didn't mind being with everybody again. It was just I was sick at the time.
Do you think somebody poisoned you?
I don't think someone poisoned me.
Yeah,
I definitely got poisoned in New York though when I was out there with everybody. We had a good time.
Wait. So you weren't feeling well because you were hungover?
No. I was actually sick. I was sick when I got there. My whole nose was congested. I think I got asked one question the whole time I was there too, and I was like, please don't ask me another question. I can't breathe.
Wait, guys, I have good news. I just asked Google, and there are 12 episodes of this season. So we've got 5 more episodes to go, plus the reunion, unless they're including the reunion in that 12. But that's great.
I think the reunion's included in the 12. I think they're
okay. Well, it's still, at least we got 5 more of these. So 5 more and then we're done. I could have it last all year, but whatever. So this is called Till Death Do Us Part because there is a wedding motif this entire episode. And last week, obviously, Boston Rob led the charge, got Wes out. Derek is on to him. Derek also now suspects Brittany at the top of this episode. Derek talked to Dylan Efron and revealed this information, saying, I suspect Boston Rob and Brittany. And we go to the turret, and the traitors are just against each other, all 3 of them. And the opening, Rob is like, yo, this is a disaster, guys. This is, by the way, I'm wearing my baseball cap backwards in honor of Boston Rob. But he's like, this is a disaster. And Carolyn's like, how do we agree who to murder? And Danielle is like, I don't care. She's like pouting, I don't care. What did you think how should this have gone? What would you have done to try to get the traitors together as a team?
Oh boy. I mean, and then you're going to get into it more. Danielle just says, I don't even care who we murder. And then they list off every person in the whole cast. And she's like, we can't murder them. And the next person can't murder them. That's where my blood just started to boil this episode.
Because that's not gameplay. That just feels like you want it both ways. It feels like a wishy-washy game that you are just depending on your own backstabbing qualities. And like I said, could be an amazing person in real life, probably is, but I hate how she's playing this game because Rob's like, then they're like, well, who has the shield? And Rob doesn't even trust these people enough to let them know who he knows has the shield for protection.
Well, I think that would be a good strategy for Rob is to have the person that he knows has the shield. Who got the shield in his group? Do you remember by chance?
I don't actually.
I don't either. But whoever got the shield in his group, if Carolyn and Danielle murdered that person and showed up to breakfast, he could be like, I'm not a traitor. Why would I murder someone that has the shield? That would have been a perfect alibi for him.
That would have been awesome.
So that's why he wasn't telling him, because he's like, well, this could get me out of this sticky situation, So I can't remember who had the shield in Boston Rob's group, but if Danielle and Carolyn agreed to that could have got him out of that hot, sticky situation.
You talked about the... I was
going to say, I would love to see this in a future season where the traitors know who has the shield, but they murder that person anyways to show that they're faithful. That's
a great way to gain trust. And I'm really frustrated now. You always mention, and you read a little bit from your journal last week. Did the traitors have to keep a journal as well?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they're able. I don't see why not. If everyone else gets a journal, why can't they jot down notes and maybe write out why someone could be a traitor and not, or why not?
They deserve a journal.
Was doing this today, so this could make them a traitor. What was that?
I said they deserved a journal too. Come on, give them a journal.
Yeah, give them a journal.
Rob wants to go for Derek, and he's like, he's been nothing but trouble for me. And Danielle doesn't want to go for Derek. He's like, oh, he told me he has no shield. I don't want him, I love him. I don't want to do that. And then they say Sam Ashgari, and they show a picture. They show an image of Sam like lifting weights. It was shirtless. And then they're like, Dylan, we have a shirtless shot of Dylan. And then Danielle's like, no, Dylan is off the table. He believes in all of us. And they're like, what about Sierra? And it's like, no. And Rob's like, come on, Danielle. And Robin and Talking Head says, what happens if the Traitors can't agree? So we're already at that spot. And then the next day at breakfast, we have Lord Ivar and Brittany coming in. And Brittany in a Talking Head clearly says, Ivar is like furniture that just gets moved around from room to room, just delivering us tea, which is so funny because, we see him as like, well, he can go farther because he's innocuous enough. But Brittany just seems like she's annoyed with him and Sandoval, which I love that she's like openly saying it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also agree with that because it's so hard when that person could go further than you because they're not doing anything. Like that also made me mad.
Yes.
I'm like, these people aren't doing anything and I'm going to get killed before them. They just sit around and don't even know how the game's supposed to be played.
Yeah, exactly. You can, by the way, you can fail upwards. I see people failing upwards in life all the time. And these people, by doing nothing, can hang around in the game longer. And then potentially, it's obviously not their strategy, but it could be a strategy for people. Because if you can be that person and then all of a sudden come guns blazing and like turn your whole personality around, it could work for you. You never know. That's not what Sandoval's doing, by the way. I'm not saying that.
No. I was trying to do that last year, was like coming guns blazing. But I came in too soon. I didn't wait long enough.
Yeah, God. Yeah. Do you wake up in like nightmares, Bergie? Like, I should have done this. It's haunted you?
No, the only thing is like I really wanted to take Dan out, and I was really fighting for Janelle. So then I was already in too hot where I had to take Dan out. And then, I also gunned that Parvati at the same time. So then I was in a really sticky situation gunning for two Traitors at once.
Oh, God. So then we have Carolyn, Tom, Sandoval, and Gabby come in. And, Carolyn doesn't want to look at Danielle in this moment because she's there as well. I skipped that. Danielle, Trishelle, and Dolores come in. And Ivar says, like, it's Dylan and Tom I'm worried for. And Trishelle says, well, you would know if I'm in that turret because Tom would be packing his bags. Which, I mean, that's funny. But once again, she votes for Tom at the end. And I think those personal grudges just make her look stupid in this game at this point. It's just not doing anything for the game or for her.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's benefiting her at all right now.
Carolyn, Tom, and Gabby come in next. Carolyn doesn't want to look at Danielle. She says she doesn't trust her. Tom is in like a B-boy, like Run DMC red jumpsuit with the backward Tom-Tom's hat on. And he's like, dude, I'm feeling bad for Dylan and Derek right now, dude. And Dolores says she's not worried about Derek. And Gabby says, Ivar I didn't think Ivar would be here yesterday. And then realizing and Ivar's like, and I'm here again today. And Gabby's like, oh my God, I die. Like she didn't realize Ivar was literally in the breakfast room with her, which was hysterical.
That never happened on my season. It would have been funny if it did, though.
Brittany, by the way, has great face reactions in this moment. Sam, Ashgari, and Sierra walk through the door, and so then we only have Boston Rob, Derek, and Dylan left. And Boston Rob and Dylan come walking through. And Danielle starts up with the tea. I don't know if these are real tears or these fake tears, but she starts them up for Derek immediately. We cut to last night back in the turret, and Danielle says, please, I'm asking you guys to pass on Derek. Come on. And he's like, come on, Danielle. He came after me directly tonight. And Danielle's like, okay, if I give you Derek, can we start over as traitors? They all agree. We cut to Derek getting the letter for the murder. And he says, I knew that after I called out Rob and he went for Wes, he wouldn't give me another round table. I would have murdered me as well. So yeah, but it's what we said. I said last week that they would go for Derek. And you said, well, that's hard because Rob, he's so after Rob. But I thought this was kind of the only way to go because he would have really solidified that argument even more than Brittany, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know where else Rob could really go at this point. I think Rob's ship, he already hit the iceberg on the Titanic, and he was halfway on there. It was just a matter of time whether he drowned today or next. Like, if he got out Brittany, there is not a chance he can survive another week.
But man, it's fun to, listen, there's a lot of Boston Rob hate out there for some reason, but it's fun to watch him work, man. Like, it is fun to watch somebody that their blood pressure doesn't seem like it gets over like 65 beats per minute. Like, he is just cool as a cucumber, and he tells it, like, everything he says to you, it feels like he's telling it to you straight. And that is such a gift. And he also does this thing that you notice where he'll get into a conversation and like the suspicion will be like, well, I'm hearing it's you too. And he's like, I don't even know what to say about that. And he'll walk away kind of casually. Like he won't get worked up about it. He'll be like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, and just kind of walk away, but it's not suspicious. Like if somebody accuses you, your natural instinct is to sit there and fight for yourself. Like, no, 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 no. And he kind of just casually walks away. And I find that very interesting and unsettling. And it would really make me confused as well. And I would potentially think he's a faithful.
Yeah, I might have been Dylan this episode too, where I'm like, I don't think Boston Rob's a traitor. Like,
no, Dylan pussed out, Bergie. Dylan pussed out at the end. He knew.
He knew? You think he knew?
I think he knew. I think he genuinely loves Boston Rob as a person, like, you know, and said, listen, I think he thought it could go potentially either way, but regardless, I don't want to put his name on this paper. And he throws his vote to Gabby at the end. And I just thought that was another wasted vote. I thought it was like just a wussy move. And yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I do think he was very aware because, you know, even after they come out of this breakfast scene, he tells Rob, yo, Derek said something really interesting to me last night. He said, you know, you obviously, which I won't tell anybody about, but he also said Brittany. So he's already well aware that Derek, who has now been killed, has this theory out there, but he still likes Rob. Like, you know, that's the thing is at the end of the day, these aren't actual murders that are taking place. Like these people aren't actually dying. So I think Dylan just genuinely likes Boston Rob.
But I would agree with you there for sure.
Is there anybody that was, like Phaedra, obviously a traitor, but you loved Phaedra. Like everybody loved Phaedra, right?
Well, and that's another reason why my blood was boiling watching this episode was when Danielle was crying again about killing Derek. I'm like, dude, it's a freaking game. Like, am I mad at Phaedra for murdering me? No, I'm not mad at her at all. Like, it's a game. Like, stop worrying about murdering Derek so much.
But just to point out how great she was last season is that she took it so seriously in those turrets and like she really kind of gave it an Alan Cummings spin where she was like, let's murder them tonight. We will sign their death is in our hands. And she really put her all in it. And now we've got traitors in the turret like, I don't know, don't pick Derek, please. Like that's not a traitor to me.
Well, and it's just not, it's like you just want to see someone like enjoy being a traitor. Like if you get to be a traitor, you want to see someone enjoy it, not be like, ooh, I feel so bad today. Like enjoy it. Like every person you murder, you're closer to $250,000. Like be celebrating every time you murder someone.
Listen, yeah, exactly. So we cut back to breakfast. Danielle still in tears, they show us, and she says in a talking head, the guilt is overwhelming. Hope he can forgive me after this. Do we, like, obviously the tears in front of the people are part of her gameplay. The tears in the talking head, I still think are kind of bullshit, and she's just playing us, the audience. She's like playing us of like, I'm a good person, I swear. But like, you got to take out good person and bad person. You're playing a game. I just think it's too much. She's doing too much.
I agree. Like, I don't know if the tears were for Derek. You know, it's just like it feels
showy.
It feels really showy. I'm just
exactly. So Rob tells Dylan and Sierra immediately. He's like, dude, someone is trying to frame me with Derek's death. And Sandoval, we have a great reaction of shot of him actively listening. Like, oh, dude, you can tell he's suspicious about something. And he's he's taking his hat off and he's biting it. You know, really like showing us that he's thinking. In a talking head, he's like, dude, I'm questioning Boston Rob. 3 people got murdered that have been a threat to Rob. It can't be coincidence. When is it enough, dude? And I love I love his passion, and I love that he's a one-track mind, and he's finally on the right track for once, right?
Well, yeah, and it's fun to see him like piece it together because it's so obvious at this point. But like, if you were thinking like, all right, it's a double bluff, it's a triple bluff. Like maybe Boston Rob is still a faithful and he's been just being framed.
He's not thinking double, triple bluffs at all. He's thinking one track. It's Rob,
like right in front of me. So I'm glad he finally took it. I also think it's funny the 3 tree boys are like the 3 last guys that come in.
The cage boys, yeah.
The 3 cage boys, they all got banished and murdered back to back to back. Like it was all 3 of them exited at the same time almost.
So Alan comes in a beautiful white tuxedo. Good morning, my crumpet munchers, which was very funny. What a morning. It is the dawn of the dead. Derek with 2 R's. R-R-R-R-I-P. Tonight's murder will be like no other. You have to team up. Your lives are in each other's hands. And Dolores after this says, wow, Rob, they left you to die. You're cage boys. And he's like, I'm being framed. I'm totally being framed. And this is when Dylan pulls him aside and tells him that theory that Derek told him. And Sierra in a talking head says, Danielle's tears are a lot. It's like, reminding us Derek didn't really die, folks. While Boston Rob and Dylan are talking about this theory, Sandoval awkwardly comes by with a coffee cup just in the middle of their conversation, which just made me laugh for some reason. And Boston Rob says, I need more people on my side at this moment. And then Lord Ivar and Sam Ashgari are playing like a little lawn game, just being two invisible men in the castle. And we see Brittany teaming up with Danielle at this point. And Danielle says, I want to work on this relationship as well. But this is where I wrote, and we talked about earlier, Brittany's smart enough to have a healthy suspicion of Danielle. I just don't think, like you said, they're saying it in the talking heads.
Yeah, and and they're not showing it if they are saying it.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So Tom walks in on Dylan and Boston Rob now seated, and he's like, dude, there's some pretty solid evidence against you, Boston Rob. And Rob's like, people are lying. And Tom's like, no shit, dude. I have not lied one time, dude. But I'm like, yeah, you've not lied here. You've lied on your show Vanderpump Rules. Yeah. But he's like, of course there's people. He's also wearing a lightning bolt earring. You got Tom's serious voice. And Boston Rob says, anyone fights me gets killed because they are framing me. Tom in a talking head says, Boston Rob is a traitor. Tom Sandoval tells Dylan, there's fucking, after Boston Rob leaves, there's fucking solid evidence against him. Dude, he's most likely a traitor. So this is where Sandoval's really throwing his might against Boston Rob. He has very little might because nobody respects him in the castle, but he's throwing everything he's got against Boston Rob. Would you agree?
I would agree. This is the first time, he's actually gunning for someone. We see him go after... not Dorinda, was it? Yeah, he went after Dorinda.
What was it? Who was the one? Was it Trishelle? Who was it? He was a couple episodes ago. No, dude, I'm telling you. Oh, Dolores. It was Dolores because Dolores was, remember, at the round table was like, Tom, that's fine. Get it out. I want you to be brave in how you say it to me because it's not going to make any sense. So he was after Dolores last week.
Wait. What are the housewives' names? Because wasn't Dolores?
Dolores is still in. Dolores is still in. Dorinda was the one that got murdered in the first episode.
Murdered in the first episode. Okay. But yeah, this is the first time we're actually seeing Sandoval actually actively gun for someone hard. Yeah. Which is fun to see.
They all meet up outside of the castle for the challenge, and they're all in these like beautiful motifs of black and red, wedding dresses and wedding attire. And I will say Tom comes out, and I truly believe this outfit Tom personally owns. If you've seen how Tom dresses during Vanderpump Rules, this is how Tom dresses. So everybody else, I was like, wow, look at them in this new look. That is a Tom Sandoval look. So I wasn't nearly as impressed. And then we get this beautiful outfit from Alan Cumming, which is a dress tuxedo type outfit, with the, what's the thing that covers the face, Bergie?
A veil?
Veil, that's it. Yeah, okay. Veil, yeah. Magnificent. And they have to pair up. It's going to be 6 couples, and you can add $27,000 to the prize pot, and you get the opportunity to save yourselves. Once again, we're brushing up against, do we really care about the prize pot money? $27,000 doesn't seem like a lot.
No, and it's crazy too because I'm watching Deal or No Deal Island right now, and their prize pot right now is at $5,500,000 for the final case. It's
last week, yeah.
It's just how are these shows so different? We're on episode 7 and we're at $27,000. They're gonna throw in the last challenge is gonna be $100,000 or something spectacular for them.
I talked to Joe Manganiello, the host of Deal or No Deal Island, this week, and we were talking about. Well, first off, I said you got to make the show longer. You got to make 1.5 hour Deal or No Deal Islands because it seems so fast. Because it's 43 minutes with the commercials, where on the Traitors you get a full hour. This one was 1 hour and 6 minutes on Peacock, and I think you need that extra time to get to know the players better on Deal or No Deal Island. I think that right here we kind of know a lot of the players from the various reality series. I'm getting to know the Big Brother players, but for the most part, I know all of them. With Deal or No Deal Island, you need a little extra time so we can root for players.
Yeah, and also Parvati and the
Dr. Will, the family,
they're all hogging the screen time, which isn't a bad thing, but it's okay, but if these players get eliminated, the player that ends up winning isn't going to be like last year I watched Deal or No Deal Island season 1, and Jordan ended up winning, and she got little screen time in the first half of the season. Then she started getting a little bit of screen time, and then at the very end, she started getting a lot where I started rooting for her. But sometimes I want to root for someone throughout the whole entire season if they're going to win. It's like it's more fun that way. But she didn't even get any screen time. So I agree with you. They definitely.
I really like the show though, and like you said, the prize pot is so insane on Deal or No Deal Island that you kind of are like, wow, the prize pot does add excitement to the game. And I feel like, I know these are kind of pseudo celebrities anyways, but I want to tell you, Bergie is still going through school. Bergie needs money, but that could have helped Bergie, But everybody else, I don't think that's going to help Trishelle, maybe Tom Sandoval. Anyways,
I do think a lot of these people I was just going to say, Deontay Wilder, when I was out there, I think his watch was worth more than the grand prize of $250,000. So there's a lot of people out there where I'm like, okay, I know this is not a charity, but if you could help me get to the end, this would be amazing.
My game would just be trying to steal Deontay's watch the entire season.
Yeah.
Where did I put that watch? So, by the way, Fergus, did you get to talk to Fergus, who is Alan Cummings' assistant with the big red beard? How is this dude in real life? Is he scary? Is he cool?
I think he's dead silent. So exactly how you see him on the show.
Really?
I never got to talk to him, but I could see him during the challenges, and he just kind of stood there. He's like, Fergus. I'm holding up a pitchfork right now or whatever he's got all the time. He's got some sort of utensil that he's holding.
So the couples that are going against each other, you got Sam and Ivar against Tom, Sandoval, and Dylan. You got Ciara and Boston Rob facing Dolores and Trishelle. You got Danielle and Brittany against Gabby and Carolyn. And half of these people will get shields. They're in the woods. Dylan in a talking head says, I have no doubt Sandoval is a faithful, and I'm getting hitched to Sandoval, so this will go great, because they're kind of getting married. That's the whole theme. But we don't know what the challenge is yet, right? So Carolyn and Gabby both are just so damn entertaining. They're funny, but they also just talk funny. The way they talk.
Also, too, I didn't know who Gabby was before watching this season of Traitors. And you asked me a question a couple episodes ago, too. It's what do you think of Gabby? And I was like, I really don't know who that is. So I just, kind of said something.
Follow her on TikTok. She's so funny.
And I have this episode made me just fall in love with Gabby. I'm like, this is awesome. Just her being there, her presence. She's so funny.
She is so... I never watched her on The Bachelor, but I found her on TikTok, and I think but she's just so damn funny in how she talks. And also she's just really smart. It's not just how she talks, she's smart as well in her comedy. And I just highly recommend following her, you guys. I would love to talk to her someday. So Danielle says, when me and Brittany come together, Danielle's like, when me and Brittany get together, we flip that script. And I'm like, oh, Danielle, stop. So the game is face your partner, take their hand, and you have to hold it for 8 minutes. Each pair that manages to not break hands adds money to the prize pot. The pair that holds the longest gets a shield. And they're like, take your places, hold each other's hand. And then we have a wedding gift that is brought in that's wrapped. 2 men bring in this wrapped gift. They open it up, and it has it's this cage kind of thing. And they're like, please take out the goggles and put them on. So we have funny looking goggles, which is hysterical on them. And then the next gift is, and Rob tells Ciara, dude, just close your eyes. If you don't want to know what's going on, close your eyes. He's so damn just cool as a cucumber, because he knows that something bad is coming. And we start with slug bugs or worms or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a millipede or centipede. Millipede.
Yeah.
Giant millipede.
This is a throwback to a show that used to be on NBC called Fear Factor, where they would do a lot of creepy crawly things. Me personally, I love this game because I could not last 10 seconds in this. Could you have done this?
This challenge here?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have been like Dylan. I'd have been just embracing the experience of it. Because you also know, Boston Rob, I'm sure he knows, they're not going to put in anything that's actually going to cause harm to you. Nothing's going to be harming you.
You don't know that these things are animals in there. They're animals.
If anything does cause harm to me, I'm winning more than $250,000 at the end of the day. Because
by the way, you could have gotten, if Deontay and you were in there, you could have gotten his watch that way.
I could have been like, what is the snake doing to your watch? Don't look.
But I love just Boston Rob is so used to challenges like this that he's just like, close your eyes, I got you. And he's so reassuring this whole thing to Ciara, which I thought was awesome. So Trishelle Trishelle is with Dolores and immediately removes her hand within 15 seconds. She's like, sorry, Dolores. And Dolores is like, yeah, I should have picked a better partner. So they don't get a shield. Trishelle is immediately out, which I think, what a lame... Face your fears if you're on this. Like, I know I said I couldn't do it, but I would still try. I don't think she even tried.
No, she just backed out right away. It reminded me of like House of Villains season 1. Oh, who was on The Bachelor? But Corinna. Yeah, she just gave up right away on the... No, it wasn't her. She kept fighting. Anyways, yeah, don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. That's the... by the way, this is when we start getting reaction shots of Alan Cumming laughing, and it is so funny to watch him. Like, these aren't forced laughs. He's genuinely laughing, and I'm laughing at home. Rob and Sierra... so they are now safe from murder, but they have to keep holding hands to add money to the prize pot, right? Rob goes, Sierra, just keep your eyes closed. Hey, when's your birthday? And she's like, December 23rd. He's like, no way. I was born on Christmas Day, 2 days. Who would have thought? He's just having her talk about nonsense. He would be a great hostage negotiator or talking somebody down off a ledge. Like, this guy could talk somebody down from a ledge. That's what I was picturing the whole time.
No, he did absolutely fantastic. And like, this is why Boston Rob is such a joy to watch on reality TV, whether he is winning or losing. Like, there's some people like Wes and Bananas were saying, like, it doesn't matter about the outcome of the game, whether you're like the greatest competitor or not. It's about making great television at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's what Rob does. And it's so fun to watch him.
And I think some of the argument I'm seeing online is that he's just too good. Why do this with like lesser players? Or that's one of the arguments. And my thing is, that's why they put everything against this guy. Like, they literally made this uphill every step of the way for Boston Rob to get further in the game. And like, so he's like out there with like 50 pounds weights around his ankles, just trying to move through the game because he's that good. And you kind of want to see how he's going to move. And, he's still very entertaining to watch, in my opinion.
I love to watch him. Whatever show he does next, I will be watching it.
Exactly. Yep. And I want to see him participate, because there's like natural thing of like, oh, he could host, or I think somebody was throwing out the idea, maybe it was you. Did you throw out the idea of him hosting Survivor season 50 and have
Jeff play? That was me.
Yeah, have Jeff. Yep. Yeah, like he could host, but I think I'm always going to want to see him play, Yeah,
I'm right there with you. It's like, you don't want to watch Tom Brady host. You want to watch him be the quarterback.
Which, by the way, Bergie, I found the CBS application for Survivor. I'm going to send it to you this week. You got to fill it out.
I'll try. I'll shoot my shot, but I don't think they really get reality TV contestants from the shows.
Just make it. We'll give you a fake name, dude. We'll call you like Bob.
I'll go by Carsten. Nobody will know. Nobody will
exactly.
know.
Yeah. Or Carsten Bergersen or something like that.
Yeah.
So a scorpion gets thrown in now, folks. So we got the millipedes, the scorpions, and Danielle Carolyn says, I don't want Danielle to win, and I don't want to have to put Gabby up for murder because I love Gabby. Sam and Ivar seem like they're doing really well. Ivar throws in a talking head about that. He's like, I've been to a few royal weddings, Princess Diane, nothing like this, nothing spooky at all, which I would argue that royal weddings are potentially spookier than the Traitors. Dylan, like you said, says, this is what I do for fun. And Tom is like, dude, I'm imagining like a cute duckling on my arm right now, dude. And Alan's like, how are you enjoying it, Tom? And Tom's like, I'll do anything once. And Alan's like, don't threaten me with a good time, Tom. So they're like kind of flirty. Then we get mealworms, cockroaches. Those get dumped in. Gabby keeps saying it's okay to be afraid. Rob says, yo, Sierra, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? They throw maggots in. Sierra's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Everyone keeps laughing. Mealworms are raining down on the head. And Tom has worn this big circus like ringmaster's hat, and all the mealworms are getting like stuck on his hat, and he's like, when it rains it pours, dude. And Gabby's like, it's in my boobs, you pervert. Now they bring gigantic snakes out, not putting them in, but they wrap them around Sierra and all of the other players. And Rob is just like, Sierra, tell me where to eat, where to go to eat in New York. And she says some restaurant. She's like, what do you like to get there? And she's like, veal parmesan. He's like, yeah, we got to get some veal parmesan. They finally make it to minute 8 with all of this. And they win $22,500 for the prize pot. But now there's sudden death. Can you beat your opposing couple because we only had 2 players get out, Trishelle and Dolores. So now they have to put their hands back in the box and find the ring with all these creepy crawly things. And, Ivar and Sam win against Tom and Dylan. Carolyn and Brittany win, and they're like, big brother in the house. And so that's who wins the shields. And then we get the driving back scene where Rob starts planting the seed again. I heard Brittany's name this morning to Sierra, Dolores, and Trishelle. And so, and then Sierra immediately picks up on that. Like, yeah, she's been very reserved. She's been very quiet. And Rob lets us know I need to rely on my ability to spin a story. So he already knows what he's getting into that night, right?
Oh, he knew he was getting into 3 days ago. Like, there was no way. I think he was just having as much fun as he could, murdering the people going after him and just seeing how much he could defend and deflect himself. I think he was playing his own Traitors game. He knew he wasn't going to get to the end. And because in a talking head, he even said, I love playing, like, murdering people. It's so much fun. And I think it was so fun to watch him enjoy going to the round table and trying to fight everyone off. I think he really enjoyed it.
I agree. But the only thing I think, just because I think you've seen now so many examples, or he has, that I would have thrown every bit of my might against Danielle. I would have gone away from the Brittany thing, even though I understand exactly why he's doing it, but I would have thrown it on Danielle after suspicion got up, because I'm just so annoyed with her, and I just see that he sees it in the turret. I would have tried to if I'm going out guns blazing, I'm going to try to take her down first.
Yeah, that is a good point. And then I just don't know what he could do in that moment,
because he would have but Bergie, the faithfuls would have at least gotten a traitor regardless. So they got a traitor to Rob, but if they threw their might against Danielle, they still would have gotten a traitor. So you still would have had that excitement.
That is true, and I think then everyone would know Danielle's a traitor. I think now it's a lot more interesting to see how are Danielle and Carolyn going to play this out. It felt like a start of a whole new game once Boston Rob got out too. That's how I'm feeling right now. There's a whole new game in front of Danielle and Carolyn right now, and it's to the finish line.
I mean, I'll say it now. My final prediction is at that fire pit, Carolyn, Gabby, and Sandoval. And I know that's crazy.
I'm feeling Dylan, Dorinda.
Dorinda's out. Dolores.
Okay. Dylan, Dolores, because they have that friendship couple. And they edited it in a way where I was feeling like the CT and Trishelle kind of edit there. And I think Carolyn could be there with them. So we're
okay.
And it's 50-50 who's going to
listen, I just want Carolyn to get to the end. So the other car, Brittany says, we're talking about Rob, and she's with Danielle and Carolyn. And Danielle says, in a talking head, she's got to be quiet and just kind of shake her head and agree. And she's got to make sure that I don't let Boston Rob know how I truly feel, that I want him out of the game. They're back at the castle. Sandoval's like, dude, I really want to get a traitor, dude. Tom says 2 other people are out. And do you really trust that guy to have your back in terms of Boston Rob? And Ivar's like, do you think he's a traitor? And Tom explodes again. Yes, dude. Yes. So he's really
Ivor got under my skin there. I'm like, dude, yes, he does. How do you not pick up what Tom is putting down right now?
Yeah. In the other room, Rob says, these traitors are making us look stupid. I don't think there's a lot of them. There's only 2 of them out of 12. So he even throws in throw them off their game, is that there's not 3, there's 2 traitors. He puts that in casually. He's like, they got us pointing fingers at coffins and cages. And Dolores is like, convince me. And Boston Rob is like, why would I kill Derek? It makes the target on me bigger. And Trichelle's like, okay, so who would murder Derek to make their hands look clean? And Rob's like, well, there's a case against Brittany. And Sierra's like, yeah, she's quiet at the round table, but she will have to talk when the heat is on. And Rob points out in a talking head, you don't need everyone on your side. You just need a majority, which I think is important to remember. He doesn't need to convince everybody. He just needs to convince a majority.
And yeah, that's a very good argument. And I will say too, I think Tom might have picked up when Boston Rob said, I think there's only 2 traitors left, and probably believed Rob. And I think that was a good strategy for Rob, is if he can get everyone to believe there's only 2 traitors left, and then eventually banish Carolyn and then Danielle by the final episode, everyone thinks they banished all the traitors, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then he'll still be there without a recruitment. So I think that was a good strategy on his part to say one less traitor than there actually is.
I wonder if we will ever get a recruitment this season.
I'm going to be honest too. I really like that we don't. I feel like I like it better without a recruitment.
Yeah, because that can get overused if you use it too early in the game. But at this point, is it worth it just in terms of the money? Because if you bring in a trade, if you recruit somebody, you're going to then try to throw that person under the bus immediately. So if you accept that recruitment, you got to go in knowing that you're going to be used as a shield for the other traitors.
Yeah, and also too, I find the game the most exciting is when the OG traders are still in the game. Like, what?
Yeah,
I'm not rooting for a recruited trader to win the game. That will never happen. I think all the excitement fizzles out once all the original traders are gone.
Because with Kate last season from Below Deck, Kate Chastain, who's amazing, she got thrown in late in the game, then she became a traitor. Like, it just didn't have the same oomph,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would argue kind of like my season of traders ended when Phaedra was banished. I feel like
she was so damn
she was so damn good, and so I really hope they maybe recruit start with 4 to 5, and hopefully they never have to use the recruitment.
Yeah, geez. God, I just want more seasons of this. So Rob points out, though, the traders not being on the same page makes it really hard for his plan to work. Because truly, if he could have trusted the traders, he would still potentially be in this game. He could potentially have the numbers because both of them voted for Rob. You would still need to convince one more person or one or two more people than voted at the round table, but it would have been easier if you had them in full support because you could have had Danielle and Carolyn putting suspicion away from Boss and Rob instead of just not doing anything at all.
Yeah, and then speak out at the round table. Like them making an argument is huge. Like it's incredible to me, like when you think about it too, when you're scared to talk around 20 people and just like if you have 4 people trying to convince a story, you're probably going to believe them. So if they could all work in unison, that could help easily spin the table around.
Yeah.
But they're not. That's the problem.
No, not at all. And I think that could actually make the game more exciting in future iterations. Brittany is all of a sudden catching a vibe from other people that won't make eye contact with her that she's going to be up. Rob sees Danielle and says people are saying Brittany's name. I know, she's just letting Rob's letting Danielle know, let's try to go for Brittany, right? We are now walking to the round table. We have the iconic music like, he was a dead man walking to his fate, vengeance sweet on my tongue. However that song goes. Rob knows he's got heat on him, but he does his best work at the round table, and he knows it'll be a fight. Brittany also knows there will be suspicion on her, but also there will be suspicion on Rob. And Alan comes out, once more into the breach, once more to my round table, the opposite of a safe place. The floor is yours. And there's that, awkward pause, and Dylan starts, and he reveals the Derek story that he told Boss and Rob at the beginning of the episode. But he also says, that Derek said it's Boss and Rob and Brittany. And so now Brittany finally has to make the argument. Do you think Dylan said he wasn't going to throw Rob's name out there, but he threw it out there immediately, and he's the first to speak at the round table?
I think that was a good move on his part. And I think he probably switched up after he heard all the arguments for Rob throughout the day. I don't think he wanted to throw it out, but he's like, I really need to just throw it out now. Otherwise, there's going to be suspicion on me. So
he's playing safe with his game. And Brittany now is forced to make her argument. She says, okay, I can tell you're struggling with your decision. So I was going to say, but she's talking about the last round table when she had made eye contact with Dylan about like his vote, like don't vote for Boss and Rob. And she's like, no, Dylan, I knew you were struggling with your decision. So I was saying, go with your gut. And Derek's ego is so big that he took that in the wrong way. I'm a faithful 100%. I'm trying to suss out traitors and I'm usually wrong and it's frustrating. And then Sam Ashgari says, tonight, the evidence is all towards Rob. It is the third night in a row. Anyone coming out against you is killed. I need you to defend yourself to me. And Rob is like, okay, I'll do it again. He almost is like, yeah, okay, just totally casual. And Tom is like, the only traitor we found was found out by a traitor, dude. And Dolores says, no, Dylan found that out, Tom. And Tom is like, it was Rob who went in for the kill, dude. Listen to me. And Boss and Rob says, Derek and Wes came to the realization that they are both faithfuls. So they then came to the assumption I must be a traitor. And that's why they had the conviction. The reason I'm so composed right now is that I'm telling the truth. I'm a faithful, always have been. And think about this logically. What incentive do I have to kill Derek? It raises the suspicion on me. Why would I do that? It makes zero sense. Who knew here that Derek didn't have a shield? The ones who knew directly, not secondhand. And it was Sam, Dolores, Trishelle, and Brittany. And he's like, the four of you are suspects. Now, I asked myself, who has the capability to have a game move, to be a gamer, and between the four of you, the one answer who understands that strategy, Brittany, I don't know if you're a traitor, but you are my number one suspect. So that's Rob's big speech. What did you think?
He's a dead man walking. Like, there's nothing you could really do. I mean, it was the greatest speech he could give in that moment. I think, his time was run out, and it was just him throwing everything he had till the bitter.
He did a thesis. Like he's like, and by the way, he wasn't like he said, he put it directly at one person. He gave a reason why. He wasn't putting suspicion in 5 different places. So it was like that Hail Mary, because at this point, the gig is kind of up. Even Tom Sandoval has figured you out. So he does it very directly. And he says, I don't know, but this, and by the way, it's a solid argument. Like, if you think about game players, if I'm Dolores from Real Housewives of New Jersey, I potentially would be like, I'm not a game player, even though I would argue Real Housewives is a different kind of a game nowadays because they all try to take each other out, but it's not specifically gameplay like Big Brother and Survivor.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And I just had a thought too. I felt like this roundtable was super short today. In that episode. And I was just like, you speaking about hour-and-a-half episodes, like we used to do Love Island recaps, and I'd turn on my TV and see how long the episode was. I'm like, we have an hour and a half of Love Island to watch today? Holy crap, what's going to happen today? Like, how can they not do hour-and-a-half Traitor episodes? So I'd like to see a lengthy roundtable.
In Love Island's defense, like sometimes you'll just watch 5 minutes of them eating like a hot dog, just like sitting, So, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I would love, when I'm in something, I'm in it, and I'm in it. So Brittany says back to Rob, I'm a faithful. You will be back at this roundtable tomorrow having the same exact conversation. And Tom is like, and you'll be wondering if it's Boston Rob or not. And Rob says, Brittany, it's a compliment that I'm saying this to you, that I think that you could do this. And Brittany's like, okay, but it's a misfire. And then all of a sudden we're voting. So that wasn't very much arguing, like Bergie says. Dylan in a talking head says, Rob is an ally of mine, and Brittany is convincing as hell. I don't want to be a part of this. Carolyn in a talking head says, it's terrifying. Why? I want Rob to go, but do I do it now? The numbers might not be there. And then Danielle says in a talking head, I want Rob to be banished. But if I make the wrong move, my game is over with. So they give the audience kind of a tease, like, which way will this go? Even though it's obviously Boston Rob, we kind of still have this, like, maybe it's Brittany. We don't know, right?
Yeah. Well, also too, like if I was there and I heard the argument, like we're going to be back here tomorrow trying to figure out if Boston Rob is a traitor or not. I think I might just banish Rob, even if I do think there's a potential he's a faithful, just because I don't want to be still doing the same thing. I want us to go in a different direction the next day as a faithful. So like,
dude, we said that at the beginning. Even if he was a faithful, I would have gotten Boston Rob out that first week just because he's so damn good at everything. Even if he is a faithful.
Yeah, you can't trust him.
But. Okay, so Tom votes Rob, and he's like, I feel like, dude, it's harder and harder to figure out this game, but like he has to go. He's the most likely, and I'm sorry. And then Trishelle like totally wastes her vote. He's like, Tom, I'm sorry, And I just feel like that was just such a throwaway vote, a wussy vote, and it makes you look a little dumb at this point because we know you don't like Tom, but you're trying to get traitors. Brittany, she votes Rob, but I don't know if you noticed her voice cracked just a hair. She's like, Rob. And she's like, the evidence, we have to follow the evidence. Sierra votes Brittany. Dylan votes Gabby. And like I said earlier, this is another one of those what? And he's like, I don't think it's either of them, so I have to look in other directions. And Gabby seems pretty cool with that. Like, she's like, okay, I get it. Carolyn votes Rob. So this is a big one of his fellow traitors. And she's like, I don't know where I'm at right now. She goes, I don't know where I'm at right now. Now we have gamers accusing other gamers, which I love that the Carolyn she's playing at this round table is almost offended. Like, the world's gone mad. We have gamers going against gamers. This cannot stand.
Yeah, and it's like saying like, do they have an alliance to everybody else? Like, do I need to be worried about Carolyn, Brittany, and Danielle? Like, are they in an alliance together? Like, I think that could backfire on them too, to be honest.
That's a great point. We got to remember that next week if that comes to fruition at all. Sam votes Rob. Ivar votes Rob. Rob votes Brittany, obviously, and Danielle votes Rob and says, this is the point where she's like, I know Brittany is a faithful. And this is where I wrote, how do you know unless you're a traitor? So I hope that sentence, I hope the sentence does come back to haunt her, but I thought it was, obvious. And then Dolores votes Sandoval. So do we have Dolores and Trishelle voting Sandoval? Gabby votes Rob. And so obviously Rob is gone. He comes forward to the circle of truth. And Trishelle in this moment tells Tom, I think he's a faithful. And this is the reveal. And Boston Rob's like, first of all, I have really enjoyed meeting and playing. I had tons of fun. I am and always have been from the very beginning a traitor. And the room erupts. Sandoval starts almost like breakdancing. He's like, yeah, come at me. And like, what did you think of Boston Rob's speech? This is where I thought he could have done better.
He could have done better. I think he kept it short and to the point. I think maybe he was just done with all the theatrics of it, and he was just like, it's time for me to go. Like, yeah. I think also, too, like, watching him lose on his shows, he's normally like, once he's done, he's done. Like, he's out.
Yeah. I wish he would have thrown, like, one more, like not a clue, because that's obviously against the rules, but just, like, you got to get better at playing this game. Like some kind of warning or threat to the other players still there. Like you got to open your eyes, like something. Like I just felt like after Boston Rob's like time on this show, I just felt like a little bit more from that speech, but you're right. So Rob in a talking head says, I understand why Carolyn was scared of me, but truthfully, I would have went to the end with her. And as far as Danielle goes, she's a bad player and she's a bad traitor. And I'm like, hell yeah, Boston Rob. He nails it. And I think if I was Danielle, that would hurt hearing that.
And also too, I do believe him that he would have taken Carolyn
I do too.
To the end. I 100% believe in him when he says that.
And that's why every moment in other episodes, he would try to like pull Carolyn aside and go, dude, you got to trust me. I swear. It's just that like, Bob the drag queen threw suspicion on me. He was really trying to like, especially with Carolyn, convince her. And, but I understand. And he's a threat. So it's good on their game that he got out. Danielle is celebrating in her talking head. And then all of a sudden we found out the celebrations are short lived because tonight at midnight, 6, the people that don't have the shields will proceed to the church. Dylan, Tom, Trishelle, Dolores, Gabby, and Carolyn. You will walk down the aisle alone, and the traitors will commit their murder face to face. And so that's going to be exciting. And then Dylan is like, dude, Tom, good job. And, Tom was like, yeah, dude, like he's so pumped up. And you've got people coming up to Tom like, hey, good work in there. And, he needed this. He really needed this. And Tom in a talking head goes, finally, dude, people are taking me seriously. Dude, I'm so glad I have some respect at the table now, dude. And so this is a huge win for Tom, but also a comic moment for the rest of us. And they're, Gabby's even talking to Tom and it's like, yo, yeah, Bob the drag queen was called out by Boston Rob, turned it immediately back on Boston Rob, because they were both traitors. And then Danielle in a talking head says, I'm reunited now with Brittany from Big Brother and I've taken out Rob. It's a good night at the castle. Carolyn in a talking head says, finally got rid of Rob. And I'm a gamer. I just don't look or sound like one. Carolyn and Danielle are now up in the turret and they are excited. They're like, girl. And Danielle is saying, Carolyn, I know you don't want to believe me, but I got you. And Carolyn's like, yeah, but not before Brittany. And she's like, no, I've got you. I swear to God, I owe you. And in a talking head, Danielle says, she still doesn't trust me. And I get that. But I'm like, please, let's work together as sister traitors. And Carolyn says, one day at a time. And in a talking head, Carolyn says, we are getting along day by day, but I'm not an idiot. And that's how I hope Carolyn treats the rest of this game with Danielle.
And honestly, too, I don't believe Danielle when she says that. Like,
I don't either at all.
At all. Like, and it's like, it's hard when you like can see it through a screen and Carolyn's not buying it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just bad.
I believe she has. I believe she has Brittany's back more over than Carolyn at this point. And now that I'm saying it, I would look to, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of this game, but maybe potentially, Danielle will think about trying to get Carolyn out and recruit Brittany, and she can give Brittany a win. Who knows? You don't know.
And I would love, that would be terrible. I don't want that to happen where Carolyn gets out before Danielle, but I think it'd be hilarious if Danielle recruits Brittany and then Brittany gets Danielle out. I think that'd be just the cycle of them starting the game hating each other, them getting back together, and then Danielle
that would be great.
Just cuts Danielle like that.
So anyways, they're like, okay, let's do this one day at a time. And then we cut to the church where they're going to do the murder in plain sight. We have this very dramatic, very well shot, Dylan Efron walking down the aisle, all lit candles in a dark room. They're dressed up magnificently. Tom Sandoval's looking around, very intense. Gabby's walking down. Dolores is walking down. There's a choir in the background, not an actual choir, but you hear it, the music, oh, and we see a coffin on the altar around the candles, and Dylan, they have to make speeches to this coffin, and Dylan's like, I've given it my all, I've made mistakes, but I've remained true, and I loved every single moment of this experience. And Gabby in hers says, if these are my last words, so be it, I'm ready to find out. And then Trishelle says, although I appreciate the theatrics, I'm not ready to die yet. And then Dolores out of nowhere, it's like, traitors, you better kill me, because traitors, I'm coming for you. You want to play this game? I'm just getting started. And I'm like, you've been wrong all along. What game are you starting? You're just getting started. You legitimately are just getting started because you've been wrong every move.
Did she vote Bob the Drag Queen?
I don't remember. I mean, she voted Tom this one, but I don't think she did vote Bob. I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but she's not a threat.
She's somebody that can be manipulated, and I don't see her as a threat, but I love how hard she came at the end. And then Sandoval, they save his for last. He's like, to me, this experience was proving my worth to myself and to others. So if I die here today, and then he raises his voice, I die a happy man, dude. And he outstretches his arms like Creed from arms wide open. And at this point we see hooded, what we think of as traitors walking up. And that's when Gabby, Dylan, Trishelle, and Dolores turn around and kind of turning around to see who it is. But we see Tom already in place, as we said in the beginning, looks up and is shocked. And then we get the preview for next week, which is very tiny preview. Where somebody says this person is too faithful. Faithfuls are going to be like, what? Danielle says in a talking head. And so I don't know what that means, but what did you think of these final moments?
You know what? Now that you say it too, I don't think they would kill Dylan because I don't think they're viewing him as too faithful. So who would be
I mean, maybe Ivar? Because they've said too faithful in the past. Remember Boston Rob used that as one of his initial arguments of nobody suspects Ivar because we all know he's a faithful.
But he has a shield, I'm pretty sure, with Sam Asghari.
Oh yeah, duh. Sorry.
So who is too? I don't know who's. Too
I'm scared it is
them.
Sandoval because after that,
at least he died happy. We can give him that.
Yeah,
he died gratified and happy.
By the way, truly, and so poor Tom truly thinks he is getting murdered for real. He doesn't realize it's a game still. So, he has this moment before his death. And, but listen, if I'm a producer, and I know this is probably something that did they ever go yo, dude, don't vote Tom. Keep Tom. Did producers ever try to convince, come on, man, we gotta, because I don't think they do, because I think they legitimately follow the rules, and they would have done that with Dorinda in the beginning and tried to keep her in longer. But did you ever hear anything like that where they tried to keep somebody in the game?
No, so that definitely 100% did not happen at the round table. I can't speak for the Traitors, but I would imagine they don't because they killed Johnny Bananas first in my season of Traitors. And I personally thought when I was being casted, I'm like, okay, this is either really good or really bad. They're casting me to be a first out, or they're casting me to just I don't know what else.
Yeah.
Other reason they're casting me,
That's interesting. I would love to hear the producers talk more about putting this game together at some point. They also have a Peacock after show, but they didn't do one for this week. So we had one from last week with Wes and Bob Harper, which was really fun, and they got to find out who were the traitors. And Bob Harper was shocked that it was Carolyn. Shocked.
You know what? I'm actually excited. I think they release them on Mondays. I'm not actually sure.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm really excited to see Derek sitting on the couch, and then Boston Rob walks in, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you definitely got me.
We got it."
Oh, I love to see that happen on the next episode.
Okay, so overall, you said at the beginning you'd give this an 8. I think I'm there with you. I think this had a lot of, I just keep going back to comedy. I thought the gameplay was like so at this point just because Boston Rob, it was so obvious. So now it just gets me excited for where we're going to go from here because the game is wide open and Boston Rob is such a strategic player that I think Carolyn is going to shine even more in these moments, but we'll see who steps up. Will it be Brittany for the faithfuls? Who's going to really make a play and make some sense? And will Sandoval's ego just be completely out of check now that he is a traitor killer?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next. It's like, it feels like a fresh start. Winningness is a word. A lot of people
I know. By the way, I got that comment. Like, winningness is a word. Sorry, guys.
Is a word. So I'm sorry to say it wasn't a word. I'm a anatomy kind of guy. So
yeah, by the way,
quiz me on that, quiz me on vocab.
The majority of these people listen to audio podcasts, but we do have a YouTube channel as well if you want to watch there, but I know it's mainly audio. But if you want to see handsome Bergelicious and his anatomy poster and his Spider-Man poster behind there, it's right there. How did your test go this week? Any tests this week?
Yeah, so of neuroscience, I got an 88%. I haven't got my system screening back yet. So
did we feel good about the system screening?
No, I think I got my ass kicked. But you know what? Sometimes it happens every now and then. And just
is the podcast taking too much out of you? Is it distracting you, Bergie?
Nothing to do with that. It was just the questions. It was like a patient comes in with hip pain. Do they have osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and then some other diseases? And it was just like, I don't know which one.
Well, did you go back and look at the question afterwards and find out what it was?
Oh, no, did not. I left it in the past, and I'll see what I got in my exam, and then we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, you're a fighter, dude. Regardless, let's get that 88 up to a 90 next time. Carsten Bergersen, he's on Cameo. He's on Instagram. The Cruise of Deception. We put that link on the show notes every time. So go. I mean, listen, if I had some money to burn through, I would go on the Cruise of Deception. It sounds like a blast, and you get to hobnob with people that have actually played this game. And what I love about it is people are really getting into gameplay again, and I love that because it's making me more excited about gameplay. And it's so much more fun to cover this than sometimes just Housewives. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for listening or watching, and we will talk to you next week. Right, Bergie?
Yes, and I also want to say if you do come on the Cruise of Deception, I'm getting my outfits ready right now. I'm also listening back to some of Alan's old speeches, so I'm going to try to make my own speeches for the roundtable. And it's going to be Bergelicious, I can tell you that. You end up coming on
By the way, my girlfriend last night asked, she was like, does Bergie know my sweet Bergelicious? Does he know that's from Fergalicious, from Fergie, from the Black Eyed Peas? Do you know that's where Bergelicious came from?
I don't want to say I stole it from that, but I definitely was inspired by it.
Okay, I didn't know if you were aware because I was like, was he even born at the time that song came out? But you were.
I think it was 2006, so I was probably like 7 years old.
Okay, you know what? I'm done talking to you for the week. Just go study and watch the Super Bowl tomorrow, okay? Right. This was awesome as always, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, see you guys next week.